Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of my tutorial video channel. The subject of this video is economics and the topic is Engel's curve or Engel curve. This is part 1 of Engel's curve. In this part, I will discuss what is Engel's curve, what is Engel's law, and how the Engel's curve can be derived from income consumption curve with regards to necessity commodity and a luxury commodity. And in part 2, I will discuss the shape and slope of Engel's curve of a normal commodity and an inferior commodity. And in part 3, I will discuss how could you compute the value of income elasticity of demand from the equation of Engel's curve. So let's get into today's topic, that is what is Engel's curve, what is the law of Engel's or Engel's law, and how the Engel's curve can be derived from ICC, that is income consumption curve. Right? Way back in 1856, famous German statistician Ernst Engel studied the behavior of consumers as regards to purchase of necessity commodities and luxury commodities with changes in income level. And he postulated that poorer a family is, greater is the percentage of income spent on nourishment. When elaborated, the law states that as income of the consumer increases beyond a certain point of increase, the consumer spends lesser and lesser proportion of his income on necessity commodities and greater proportion of his income on luxury commodities. This logic has ultimately boiled down to the very generalized proposition that affluent a country is, lesser is its food expenditure as a percentage of national income. Now we shall draw the Engel's curve from income consumption curve. Right? Here we draw the curve for normal commodity, necessity commodity, and here luxury commodity. In each category, I shall draw two diagrams, one for income consumption curve and the another for Engel's curve. So first part, I draw the ICC, that is income consumption curve. On x-axis we measure quantity of X, and on y-axis we measure quantity of Y. Say these are the budget levels or budget line or price line. B1, L1, B2, L2 and B3, L3 are successively higher three budget lines as income of the consumer increases. Now we are going to draw the income consumption curve for a necessity commodity, and please remember, never try to draw the indifference curve beforehand. Plus determine where the points would be. Then draw the indifference curve, that is the point of tangencies, that is where the consumer reaches equilibrium. Say this is IC1, this is IC2, and this is IC3. This is IC1, IC2 and IC3. they let P, Q and R are the successively higher points of tangency between budget line and indifference curve. That means with budget line B1, L1 and indifference curve IC1, the consumer is in equilibrium at point P, that is at point of tangency between IC1 and B1, L1. As the income of the consumer increases, the budget line B1, L1 shifts parallelly rightward to B2, L2 and the consumer moves to higher indifference curve IC2 and he is in equilibrium here, that is at a point of tangency between IC2 and B2, L2 at point Q. Again with increase in income of the consumer, remember prices of all the commodities, X and other commodities are remaining constant. With further increase in income, the budget line B2, L2 shifts further parallel towards right and it becomes B3, L3 and the consumer moves to higher indifference curve IC3 and he or she is in equilibrium at point R. Now, as we join these points, we get income consumption curve ICC. Correct? Now we are considering the behavior of the consumer with regard to consumption of X as his or her income increases. Now at point P, he was consuming say OX1 units of X. At point Q, he is consuming OX2 units of X. And at point R, he is consuming OX3 units of X. Right? So you can see that as the income of the consumer increases by same amount, the proportion of income spent on X goes on falling, because you can see the gap, that is X1, X2, X2, X3 becomes lesser and lesser as the income of the consumer increases. Now here we are drawing the Engel'S curve. Now while drawing the income consumption curve, that is the indifference curve and budget line and the point of tangencies, we are measuring quantity of X on X-axis and quantity of Y on Y-axis. And in case of Engel'S curve, we shall measure the quantity, that is consumption of X on X-axis and income of the consumer on Y-axis. Instead of quantity of Y, we shall measure the income of the consumer on the Y-axis. So here income, and here quantity of X. Right? Now if we draw the Engel'S curve, we will get a curve like this. Correct? Suppose his income increases from Y1 to Y2 to Y3. Okay, the income of the consumer is increasing from OY1 to OY2 and then to OY3. And his consumption increases from, say, this is X1, OX1, from OX1 to OX3, OX2 and then to OX3. So you can see the gaps, that is X1, X2, X2, X3 are gradually decreasing as income of the consumer is increasing by the same amount. So this is Engel'S curve. This is Engel'S curve for a necessity commodity. Right? Now we shall discuss the ICC and Engel'S curve for a luxury commodity. Okay, say these are the budget budget lines, that is B1, L1, B2, L2 and B3, L3. B1, L1, B2, L2 and B3, L3 are successively higher budget lines or price lines as income of the consumer increases by same amount. And as I have said you, first determine the points, then draw the diagram. Okay, say this is IC1, this is IC2 and this is IC3. The consumer is in equilibrium at point A initially, that is at the point of tangency between B1, L1 and IC1. As his income increases, the consumer's budget line shifts from B1, L1 parallelly rightward to B2, L2, and the consumer reaches to higher indifference curve IC2 and he is in equilibrium at this point, that is at the point of tangency between IC2 and B2, L2. Let this point be B. With further increase in income, the price line or budget line B2, L2 further shifts rightward parallelly to B3, L3 and the consumer moves to a higher indifference curve IC3 and then he is in equilibrium at this point, that is at the point of tangency between B3, L3 and IC3. Let this point be C. Now if we join these 3 points, we will get a curve like this, which is income consumption curve. Now you see this is X1, this is X2 and this is X3. Initially the consumer was purchasing OX1 units of X with the budget line B1, L1 and indifference curve IC1. With increase in his income, the consumer is purchasing OX2 units of X with budget line B2, L2 and IC2. And with further increase in income, the consumer is purchasing OX3 units of X with budget line B3, L3 and indifference curve IC3. Now you can see the gaps X1, X2, X3 are gradually getting greater. That is, the gaps are becoming wider as the income of the consumer increases. That is, the consumer is spending proportionately more of income as his or her income is increasing. We draw in this section the Engel'S curve of a luxury commodity. Here we measure quantity of X and here quantity of Y. The Engel'S curve will be like this, with equal increment in income. That is from OY1 to OY2 and then to OY3. The consumption of the consumer on this luxury commodity is, say, OX1, OX2 and OX3. Here you can see the gaps X1, X2, X2, X3 are getting greater and greater as the income of the consumer increases. Correct? Now we can take an empirical example. We considered rice as a necessary commodity and electronic gadget as a luxury commodity. Say here we measure rice and here electronic gadget. Let income of the consumer, here is income, percentage of income, amount of income spent, and here percentage of income spent. Say income of the consumer is 100. So say he is consuming $10, he is spending $10 on rice. That is, he is spending 10% of his income on rice. So he can here under electronic gadgets we measure percentage of income and amount spent. There is percentage of income and amount spent. At income level 100, he is spending 10% on necessary commodity. That means he is spending 90% on luxury commodity. That is, he is spending 90. That is $90 or 90 rupees. You can take any currency if you like. Now suppose his income increases to 200. Now he will be spending that same amount of money on this necessary commodity. It can be rice or it can be salt. That is 10. That means here he is spending 5% of his income on rice. So here on luxury commodities he can spend 95%. That is 190. Again, suppose his income increases to 300. He spends the same amount, 10. So what will be his percentage? This will be 3.33, something like that. Let me use the calculator. Yeah, 3.33%. So now he can spend how much percent? 100 minus 3.33%, that is 76.64%. That is, now he can spend in absolute term how much? $229. Now please notice that as income of the consumer is increasing from 100 to 200 to 300, the percentage of income spent on the necessary commodity falls from 10% to 5% to 3.33%. At the same time, the percentage of income spent on this luxury commodity, we have considered it as electronic gadget. The percentage of income spent on electronic gadgets is increasing from 90% to 95%. Sorry, this will be 96, not 96. So this will be 96.64%. That is 283.92. This will be 283. Say, let us take 24. So, as income of the consumer is increasing, the percentage of income spent on luxury commodity, here we have considered electronic gadget, is increasing from 90% to 95% to 96.64%. And in absolute term, the amount spent on this luxury commodity is increasing from 90 to 190 to 284. So this is Engel's curve, and this is law of Engel or Engel's law, and the Engel's curve is based on Engel's law. So what we have discussed today? We have discussed Engel's curve. What is Engel's curve? What is Engel's law? And how the Engel's curve can be derived from the income consumption curve with regards to a necessity commodity and a luxury commodity. Okay. So far so good. I think this is enough for this video. I believe you have enjoyed this video. If you think the video is beneficial for you, please do share the videos with your friends, brothers and sisters, so that they can also get benefit by watching this video, right? And I think this Engel's curve part 1 is well understood by you. Still, should you have any doubt in your mind, should you have any query, please feel comfortable to let me know through the comment section. I shall be more than glad to respond to all your relevant queries and doubts. And thank you for watching this video. Stay well. Goodbye.